This story took place a year ago, on the first day of spring break. My cousin and I wanted to explore an abandoned warehouse that was located 30 minutes away from my house. When we finally got out of school for a week, we knew this was the perfect time to go. We waited till the sun went down and we packed our backpacks. This only included flashlights and a few snack bars. Then we got in my car and I drove the 30 minutes ride to the warehouse. When we arrived, we came up with a plan to enter through the back so that nobody can see us. So we quickly grabbed our bags and ran to the back of the warehouse. When we arrived, we realized most of the windows were boarded up, but there was one window that was completely shattered. We knew this was our only way in. I decided to lead the way, so I put my flashlight on and slowly climbed through the window into the warehouse. Once inside, I could smell a weird odor. I didn't really make much of this, but I just assumed it came from the old building. We maneuvered our way around the debris on the first floor in order to reach a dark staircase. My friend and I followed the staircase to the second floor. When I shined my light into the room, I could see a bunch of poles holding up the building. Posted on the poles were pieces of paper. I walked over to one of the poles and read the piece of paper. It was a missing person report. This was very strange. I looked around at some of the other poles, and every single one had a different missing person report. The strange thing is that most of these people were missing people from our city. This was really starting to freak me out, but that was when my cousin called me to come over to where he was standing. As I looked underneath some of the rocks, I could see a piece of paper that had fallen off one of the poles. I blew the dust away and opened the piece of paper. What I saw instantly sent shivers down my back. It was a missing person report, about me. My name was written at the top. It also had a picture of me. The picture looked like it was taken by someone else while I was not paying attention. I glanced at the date, March 11th. Both me and my cousin looked at each other. Today was March 13th. My cousin suggested we get out of here. At that exact moment, we both heard a loud metal banging sound. It sounded like a door opening. What happened next scarred me. A man wearing a scream mask started running at us. I yelled run as both my cousin and I booked it down the stairs towards the window. When we reached the shattered window, my cousin climbed out, and I quickly took a glance behind me and I could see the man still chasing us. Without hesitation, I dove through the shattered window, landing on my foot. I ended up spraining my foot, but I was so filled up with adrenaline that I continued running towards the car. Once in the car, I sped down the street at like 60 miles per hour in a 30 zone. My cousin and I decided to stop at our local Dunkin' to catch our breath. Once inside, we went over every single scenario of how the person in the warehouse must have taken that picture of me. We decided to not call the cops because we were kinda trespassing on private property. I guess I will never find out who took that picture of me, but up until now, nothing else has happened. I just recently got out of college for a week, for spring break. Instead of going to Miami just like everyone else, I decided to go on a camping trip with some of my friends. The reason for this is because this trip sort of became a tradition. This year we decided to go to the same location as last year, a national park with lots of dense forest around 5 hours from my house. The drive there does not take long, because when you're with your friends, time flies. For some reason, this year, one of my friends was running a little late. This resulted in driving a couple hours later than usual. This was not a problem, except the fact that we reached the woods when it got dark. Every year when we got to the woods, we have to hike for at least 10 minutes into the forest in order to reach the great spot for sightseeing. This year was very difficult to travel through the forest at night. At some point as we were walking through the forest, I heard a branch snapping to my right. I was not sure what made that sound, so I asked my friends. Since it was so dark, all we had was our phone flashlights, and there was no way to see what the sound was, but we all just assumed that it was just an animal. We continued on the way until I basically stopped everyone and asked if anyone knew where we were. I was starting to get scared because I already knew the answer. We were lost in the woods at night with no flashlights. I tried to use Google Maps on my phone, but that was when I realized that there was no phone service this deep in the woods. At this point, we all made the conclusive decision to set up camp and wait till morning in order to find our way back. We began to set up the tent in the dark, but I could not shake the feeling that somebody was watching us. But how? I muttered to myself. We were lost in the woods at midnight. There was no way somebody was out here this late. The silence was broken when we heard another stick breaking. Now we were certain that there was somebody out there playing a prank on us. My friends yelled out into the woods to try to scare whatever was lurking in the shadows. Luckily, that was also around the time that we finished the first tent, and we all climbed inside. We knew there was no way to make the other tent if somebody was out there watching us, so we all sat in one tent, making no noise, waiting for something to happen. Just like out of a horror movie, something did happen. We started to hear footsteps towards the tent. As they got closer, we could see the silhouette of a person holding some sort of knife, standing outside our tent. All I remember is screaming "run" as my friends and I ran out of the tent at a random direction. Somehow the direction we chose took us back to the car, where we all got inside and sped out of the woods. Since there was nowhere to go, we decided to drive home. Luckily, we all escaped with our lives that day, but the scariest part is that the man was watching us and following us the entire time. My entire school just got out for spring break. Some of my friends decided to host a party Friday night at their house. I obviously was going to attend the party because this girl I had a crush on was going to be there. Tonight was the night I was going to ask her out. Fast forward a couple hours and I was on my way walking to the party. The party was 2 blocks down from my house, so that is why I was walking. I should probably mention that we live in a significantly safe neighborhood. When I arrived, I could hear loud music and lots of people talking. I walked in and met up with some of my friends. Once I got there, my friends instantly dared me to go up to my crush and ask her out. Since I was kinda shy, I kept putting it off. 20 minutes later, we were still chilling at the party when they all dared me again. This time I just decided to go up to her. So I walked up to her and said, "Hey, I think you're kinda cute, wanna hang out sometime?" To my surprise, she actually said yes. I was over the moon, but the excitement did not last long. Suddenly, all of the power cut off and the music stopped playing. The lights also went out. Since my friend was hosting the party, I walked over to him and asked him what was going on. He looked confused as to why the power was out. He asked me if I wanted to go with him to check out the fuse box located outside the house. I agreed to go, and we both walked outside. We walked to the side of the house and reached the fuse box. This shocked me. It looked as if someone had smashed the fuse box with some sort of bat or something. It was completely destroyed. It must have been a prank from someone at the party, I told my friend. "I don't think anyone would do that though," he replied. Both me and my friend booked it back into the house to make sure everything was okay. When I went inside, everything seemed fine, but most of the people were starting to leave the party since the power was still out. There was no way to fix the fuse box, so everyone left the party, except my friend and I, and my crush and her friend. All 4 of us thought that it was a little weird, that someone would just smash the fuse box. At that exact moment, I heard a crack from the wooden stairs. I instantly looked towards the stairs, but I could not see anything. As my vision adjusted to the darkness, I could see the silhouette of a man standing on the stairs. Trying to sound as calm as possible, I told my friends that we needed to leave the house. Everyone was confused, but they did as I told. Outside, I called the police and explained the story to my friends. Once the cops arrived, they searched the entire house, but they did not find anyone. The back door was left open, which left me to believe that the man escaped through the back. To this day, I'm still not sure the man's intention for breaking into my friend's house.